Welcome, everyone, to the Best of Markham podcast, brought to you by me, Igor Klibanov from fitnesssolutions+.ca, your personal trainers for chronic conditions. Here with me today is Shelly Banihashemi. Shelly, thank you so much for being here. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, Igor. I am a family law lawyer. I actually, not long ago, celebrated my 15 years of practice as thank you. And those 15 years have been exclusive to family law. I did have, a couple of years of experience in family law before I became a lawyer. So I've been in this industry and in this area of law for almost half of my life. And yeah, I have my own practice based in Markham, and we deal with all types of issues relating to family law, including parenting time, child support, spousal support, property division, and all of the things that fall under the umbrella of family law.
Got it. Okay. Pretty comprehensive. And
Yes.
how did you get into family law? Well, for two quote, it's a two-part question. How did you get into it
Yes.
in the first place? And then within law, why did you choose family law?
I think in law school, I particularly enjoyed, you know, um, what we call ADR courses, which is alternate dispute resolution courses. So that includes things like mediation, arbitration, basically, alternative ways of resolving the issues that doesn't necessitate court. Little did I know at the time that family law is probably one of those areas where a lot of times litigation is inevitable. Um, and even when you try to keep it out of court, sometimes it's just not possible. So the interest sparked in law school, but shortly after I started in this industry, I realized that, it's not just ADR. You have to be willing to take matters to court if and when necessary. Um, and so, you know, even though I had no intentions of being a litigator, or so to speak, it kind of turned out that way just in being in this area of laws. And so now I have cases where I'm obviously doing a lot of ADR, and I appear regularly in court when and where I need to. So.
Gotcha. And how did you choose law to begin with?
Oh, how did I choose law? That's an interesting one. I don't, it's for me, it's a little different than the atypical story of I've always wanted to be a lawyer. I actually thought I would go into teaching, um, and applied for teachers college and got in and was very close to going in a completely different direction. And then almost, I almost had like a mid-quarter life crisis in my early 20s, like, is this really what you want to do? And so I decided to take a very different path, and applied for law school instead, and became a lawyer by the time I was 26 years old. So it wasn't like a childhood dream of mine, but it was kind of in the same path as teaching, because I think, just the same way as a teacher, you're helping, kids, students, adult students sometimes. Family law incorporates a lot of, hand-holding clients, helping clients navigate a very challenging and hard time in their life. It's
Yeah,
just in a very different area, but kind of the same idea of helping people.
gotcha. So when you were going through teachers college or when you were thinking about teachers college, what made you think this is not for me? But like at that time, did you think I want family law or you just thought broadly, I want law?
I think it was more broad, like I want to pursue law. I did, there was always like an interest, in the back of my head. Like, do I want to go to law school? There was always this fear of, am I going to make it as a lawyer? Will I become a lawyer? There's a lot of um, stigma around applying to law school, getting into law school, doing the bar, writing the bar exams, and there's a lot that plays into it. And I guess I kind of was afraid of the unknown, and that's why I chose not to take the leap. But I think when the moment came when I realized, okay, I'm at crossroads. Like if I go to teachers college, there's probably no going back from this. Like I don't know many people that, have multiple professional degrees and diplomas and spend
Right.
their life going, back to school. So I figured, I need to make this decision and it's going to be a lifelong decision. And
Right.
um do I really want to be a teacher or do I really want to be a lawyer? I had gone to various law schools. I had friends that were, applying or going to law school who kind of, helped me overcome that fear, which obviously helped to, apply and go in that direction. But I often wonder if I didn't have those people, would I have done it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But luckily I did. So, and here we are. But
Yeah. Here we are 15 years later.
that's right. Yeah.
So what do you like most about being a family lawyer?
I do really enjoy the aspect of helping people. It's a very challenging time in people's life, and I often joke that we play a little bit of Dr. Phil in addition to playing the role of a lawyer. So I have very close relationships with all of my clients. I know the intricacies of and the nuances of their relationships and their family dynamics and things that they probably don't share with their best friends even, and we are very privileged to have that information and to receive that kind of information from our clients. And I appreciate that people put that kind of trust into their lawyers to help them through such a difficult time.
Got it. And you're not just a family lawyer, you have your own practice. So
I
you're not
do.
so you're an entrepreneur as well. So
Yes.
what made you decide to make the leap of because entrepreneurship, yes, it's got great rewards, it's also got great challenges. So what made you decide to
Yeah.
make your own practice?
Um, So I had practiced for two really prominent family firms for 10 years before I decided to take the leap. And believe it or not, I decided to do that in the midst of COVID. So Bani family law came to fruition in 2021.
Right.
It was, I'm sure you recall, it was a very difficult time for everybody. Um, we were all home and not enough space. The kids were home, and it got me thinking about my future and what that looked like for me.
Yeah.
And I figured, um, if I was worried that if I continued to work for other people, that I would not be able to last in this profession.
Right.
And that kind of drove me to make the decision, like, look, you can try and go off on your own and see what that results in. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, you can always go back to a firm.
Yeah.
Um, what's the happen, or it could change the trajectory of my life. You have freedom and ability to do things in the way that you want to do them, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I did it. And, in in a month, we're celebrating 5 years of my own practice. So obviously it was a good decision, but I'm actually probably went from working 9 to 5 and some weekends to now I work 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, there's definitely challenges to your point, and you're wearing a lot of hats. You're wearing the hat of a lawyer, a business person. I'm HR, I'm administrator, I do everything. So it is difficult, but it's also much more rewarding, in my opinion.
Yeah. A lot of the entrepreneurs that I spoke to on this podcast said very much the same thing. Like, and when I asked, what's your motivation behind entrepreneurship? It wasn't just freedom or I wanted to make a lot of money. It's most of the time, it's just I wanted to do things my way. I wanted to practice the way I want to practice and not the way my boss wanted me to practice. Um, yeah, I mean, and it's funny for me looking back at my own, I guess, path to where I am now. I became a personal trainer in 2006, started my business in 2010. And all I wanted was literally just to work 9 to 5. I never thought that I'd be working, 70 to 85 hours per week and liking it.
That's right.
Um,
That's right.
right? Because when it's your own business, you can choose what to do. Like 15 to 20 hours per week for me, I actually spent personal training. The rest of my time is spent on other stuff like marketing, like managing my staff, recruiting, training, etc. Um, so yeah, it's got
Yeah.
its pros and it's got its cons.
It's very hard, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of growing your business, what do you do for marketing? How do you get new clients?
So believe it or not, I don't really do much advertising. Um, I have a very small office. It's been 5 years. I've chosen not to bring in associates. I have some clerical staff with me, but I haven't expanded to the point where I'm managing other associates and whatnot. That might be in my future. But as it stands, it's just me. So the beauty about that is it's a much more personalized approach. And so every client that comes to me, and it's typically, like I said, a referral, um, somebody else has already kind of placed their trust in me, saying, Shelly did my divorce, or I know Shelly through so and so, and she's going to do a great job. And so there's already that person that's, rooting for me
Yeah.
and that's given me that opportunity to do a good job. So as it stands, I'm blessed that I don't have to do much advertising to bring files in. But certainly when you look at it from, a bigger scale, bigger perspective, I do eventually want to grow, and that will likely require
Yeah.
advertising.
Yeah, yeah. So do 100% of your clients come through word of mouth or do you have other sources?
Yeah, it's mostly word of mouth, other lawyers in other areas of law that can't assist the client, friends, family members. Yeah, I'd say it's all word of mouth because I'm not posting ads on I probably should be. That's not very entrepreneurial of me.
Right.
But again, I think with that expansion, you need to have the time and resources. And so, um, I care a lot about being able to give my clients that personalized approach. And I don't think if you're, taking on more than you can chew, that you can do
Yeah.
that for your clients. And so when I feel that I'm at that stage, I would probably, look for associates and look to expand the firm.
Got it. So once you feel that your schedule's not just full, but slightly more full than you can handle, then it's time to bring people on board.
I think so, yeah. But that also takes a level of trust and um, to hire somebody and make sure that they're giving the clients the same sort of level of attention and the caliber of work that you would do, right? Because again, if it's strictly referrals, you want to ensure that that referral flow continues to come in. And in order to do that, you have to produce good work and do good work.
100%. Your reputation's on the line if you get a referral. I remember when I made my first
Right.
for a personal training position 14 years ago, I was so scared with the same doubts as you. Like, will this trainer be provide the same quality of service as I do? Fortunately, um, there is a two-part approach. One is you screen for them. So in the interview, you figure out what's their approach. But second of all, you after they're hired, you also give them the additional skills, both the operational but also the technical skills to be able to treat clients the same way you treat clients, get equal results, have the right background in anatomy, physiology, etc. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
in terms of your expansion plan, do you plan to just do it organically, just keep the word of mouth going, or advertising, or some other method?
I mean, like, I think speaking to people like yourself in a completely different space and, you're not in law, you're in a different area. And just having being open to having these sort of discussions with people outside of the law world and, networking, going to law events and just putting yourself out there can sometimes be beneficial and helpful. But yeah, I think to be quite honest with you, there's no immediate plans, but I think if the firm continues to get work in the way that it has and progressed over the last few years, then I would imagine that there will be a time when there will be expansion. And
Yeah.
then I'll kind of have to turn my mind to it. But right now, I'm kind of taking it as it comes because there's just so many other things to worry about, focus, and manage that, it's unless you make the time for it, I'm sure as you know,
Yeah.
it's hard to say right at this time like what my future plans are.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, in my case, even though I'm a personal trainer, 15 to 20 hours of my 80-ish hours are spent on personal training and a chunk is spent on marketing. But it's not just like I've decided that I'm going to spend money on marketing or time on marketing. It's also like I have to do it because now I can't just take on another client, another trainer, another staff member, and have no clients to give them or have not enough to give them.
Well,
So
yeah, that's absolutely right. If an associate comes, to the firm, they're going to want a good handful of files to keep them busy.
yeah,
So that's why it goes back to ensuring that, I have not only the capacity to potentially mentor this person that might, join the firm, but also to keep them busy, to keep, them afloat and be able to pay them while simultaneously running the business.
yeah,
And those are the joys of entrepreneurialism that I don't think people really appreciate because there are a lot of lawyers I think that do go out there and try to open their practice and realize that it is quite challenging. And it's not, rainbows and butterflies all the time. So
yeah. You only when people look at entrepreneurs from the outside, especially successful entrepreneurs, they only see like the tip of the iceberg. They don't see all the like the base of the iceberg.
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm about to
Yeah.
publish another book right now called The Marketing Graveyard to address that very
You
fact.
are?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's my 21st book.
Awesome.
Um,
Okay.
but the basically there are so many books about marketing and entrepreneurship of just here's the strategy, do this, and you're gonna make gobs and gobs and gobs of money. And then you actually try it and you're like, it worked for them and maybe didn't, I don't know, but it's not working for me. So this is a book where I discuss 25 of my marketing failures, not my successes. And it's broken down into what was I thinking before I launched the strategy? What did I actually do? What's the execution? Here's what I did. Here's how much money I spent, etc. How did it work? What were the results? And because they're all failures, there's also almost always zero or very close to it. And then the final section of each chapter is what would I do differently if I knew then what I know now? So 25 failures out of way more than 25, but I wanted to book it out an encyclopedia. And then the book ends with my only four successes. And the overall message is that as long as your successes are bigger than your failures, you can fail many times and still be ahead in business. If a failure costs you $1,000 and one success is $100,000, you can fail 99 times and still be profitable. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. Um,
That's
what are you working on right now that's exciting to you?
um, you mean in terms of work?
Either the technical side, the clients you're excited about, without naming names, of course, or your business wise.
I like to your point, I think I am bordering that part of my career where I am contemplating expansion. With 5 years, with my 5 year anniversary coming up, and I feel like I'm kind of ready to take that leap. I gave myself a couple of years to see whether I could, you know, bring in work, not spend a exorbitant amount of money on advertising and focusing on that and just focusing and honing in on the practice and just providing good valuable work to people. And I think I'm kind of reaching that phase in my career where I am ready to expand. So I am kind of slowly trying to turn my mind to that, but also dealing with my files and all of the workload. Of course, it's very challenging, but it's really something I'm definitely excited about because I never really imagined to be at this stage so quickly. I mean, maybe it's not that quick for some people. It might be like, a couple of years, but I think that the point is you set goals for yourself, small goals, and if you can accomplish them step by step and you do it in a way that feels right to you, um, even if you don't succeed the first time, there's always another way to go about it, another way to try to do it and try to succeed in other ways.
Yeah.
So my goal is, maybe by 2027 to have another associate, maybe hire some more support staff, and see where we go.
Yeah, growth is always exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And what obstacles have you encountered in your time as both a family lawyer and an entrepreneur?
Oh, where do I begin? I don't think there's enough hours in the day, to be honest with you. I just, you know, and I don't think this is like a 9 to 5 necessarily. Like maybe being a family lawyer could be if you are at a firm where there's work-life balance and you establish your boundaries and what you're willing to do and not willing to do. And of course, that will be subject to what you get paid. But as an entrepreneur, you can't place limits on how much work you are or aren't going to do. The work is going to come.
Yeah,
There's administrative things that need to be done. There's you know payroll and all of the things, and you have to carve in the time. And I think time management is a skill that you definitely need as an entrepreneur.
right.
Because I don't know, I mean, I have two young children as well. So being a mom and managing the household and my kids' activities, in addition to being a lawyer and an entrepreneur and doing it without help, may I add, is challenging,
Yeah,
right? So you just have to really manage your time effectively and know what you want.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You ever heard of the Eisenhower matrix?
No.
It's kind of a time management tool that I use. I actually used it before I knew what it was called, but then I'm like, oh, that's exactly how I do it. The Eisenhower matrix is basically you prioritize in terms of four different quadrants. Quadrant one is urgent and important. So do those things first. Quadrant two is urgent but not important. Quadrant three is important but not urgent. And then quadrant four is not urgent and not important. Um, and again,
I think I kind of do that already anyways. Yeah.
I was doing that intuitively before I learned that this is that what this is called. But I'm like, oh, okay, there's an actual way to do it.
Makes sense. Yeah. The
Yeah,
irony is that in family law, if you were to speak to my clients, they would all tell you they fall under the first umbrella and everything is urgent and important.
yeah, yeah. Do it.
So,
Totally get it.
yeah.
Now you're obviously very busy. You're an entrepreneur. You're a lawyer. You're a mom. So you have very little free time. But in the little free time you have, what do you do?
Exercise,
Oh,
actually.
good for you.
Yes, I take my exercise very seriously. I try to work out at least 3 to 5 days a week. I don't do it for the physical component, but of course, you reap the benefits of the physical if you stick with it and do it long enough. And I've been doing it for, over a decade, and it has become a part of my lifestyle. It's a non-negotiable. Like that is my me time. I carve out time, whether it's in the mornings. Usually it's in the mornings before everyone else's day has started. And it's really mostly for my mental health.
Yeah,
Um, it just the serotonin release, um, the feeling of strength and feeling powerful.
yeah,
It's a great way to start the day. And when I don't work out, I feel different.
yeah.
And sometimes you just can't because you have court and other commitments and whatnot. But yeah, exercise is very important to me.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I wrote a book a few years back called The Fit Executive, where I interview 15 entrepreneurs of companies that have 50 employees or more. Um, and I always ask them, why do you exercise? I mean, you could be spending 16 hours a day working, so why do you take a half an hour out of your day to exercise? They say a couple reasons. One, if I take that 1 hour or half an hour out of my day, I feel better the rest of the day. I have more energy, I make better decisions, and more productive. So it's better to do 15 hours of work and an hour of exercise as opposed to 16 hours of work straight because they're more productive during the remaining hours. The other psychological benefit is if your workouts are sufficiently difficult, you feel like you've already conquered one obstacle at the beginning of the day once you finish your workout. So anything else that comes later on in the day can't be as difficult as, lifting heavy weights or getting out of breath from cardio, etc. So a lot of entrepreneurs are in the same boat as you.
I absolutely have to agree with that. And like there's a sense of accomplishment, even if it's, and you know what, I don't do it for long. I'm not like going to the gym and spending an hour and a half,
Yeah,
30 minutes,
yeah,
but it's an effective 30 minutes. I'm not dawdling. I'm not on my phone. I'm not checking
yeah,
emails. It's 30 minutes completely dedicated to me. It's, if I work out from home, I work out at the gym. It doesn't matter where I am,
yeah,
but you leave me alone for those 30 minutes. I'm not a mom, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not anybody. I'm just in my zone.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. This is my me time.
exactly.
And since this is, after all, a Best of Markham podcast, what's your favorite business in Markham besides your own?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, in terms of, I can tell you there's a lovely restaurant that I like in downtown Markham
Okay, what is it?
called Costa Sorrento.
Okay, my wife and I have been there a few times.
Yeah, I really enjoy it there. So I would definitely give a thumbs up to that restaurant. I think they've been around for a while.
Yeah,
Um, Sorry?
2019, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So they lasted throughout COVID, so that's always a good sign.
I know
Um,
in restaurants.
yeah. Um, yeah, so I would say that.
Awesome. Well, shout out to Costa Sorrento. And lastly, how can our viewers and listeners get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the firm's name is Bani Family Law Professional Corporation. The website is banylaw.ca, so just BANI law.ca, and all the information you'll need there, my email, and our telephone number is all provided on the website. But you can also call 647-551 BANI, BANI.
Perfect. And all that, all those contact details will also be in the show notes as well. Shelly, once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed our time.
Of course.